These spiders can be found on almost every single continent, and there's a very real chance that there's one living in your backyard right now. But I bet that you've actually never seen one. They spend almost their entire lives underground, waiting for the perfect moment to jump out and ambush their prey. As a longtime spider hunter, these spiders have always stood out as some of the wildest. The trapdoor spiders are some of the most secretive and sometimes aggressive spider species around. So what makes them so unique when they're compared to other spiders? And why do we almost never see them? Despite there being a ton of different trapdoors that we'll get more into later, I have never found a single one in my home state of Louisiana. So where exactly do you find a trapdoor spider? Most of the time, if you're like me, you just don't find one, but unlike our more common wolf spiders or different orb weavers that can be found in more open environments, trapdoor spiders spend almost their entire lives hidden underground. And at the entrance of their burrow, you'll see their signature characteristic, the thing that they're named for, a perfectly camouflaged trapdoor, made from silk and whatever other materials they can find. It's pretty easy to miss, so if you're a small bug or even a smaller spider, you're likely to walk right up to it and whack! You get nailed by those giant fangs. While these spiders aren't incredibly toxic for what we know, they tend to be quite strong and they can easily overpower their prey. Since these spiders are mostly ambush predators, they almost never leave their burrows. That is, almost. You see, female trapdoor spiders are very long-lived. In fact, it's believed that they can live for several decades, even out of the same burrow. But the males oftentimes wander around in search of the females, and their lifespan is a lot shorter. My luck in my home state with these spiders has been pretty terrible, so we decided to head somewhere where they're a bit more common. I tell you what, it is a nice sunny morning here in Georgia. Beautiful hardwood forest. There's actually surprisingly a lot of intact habitat around here, which is really nice, and it means it's a really good area to see some obscure species that a lot of people haven't heard of. Now, we're actually in a very urban part of central Georgia right now, and you wouldn't think that these small little urban forests would have a lot of species in them, but sure enough, the habitat's intact enough that a lot of stuff is still out here. Like I said before, trapdoor spiders can be found virtually anywhere, but right now this time of year is when the males are on the move. And sure enough, we ended up finding a very grumpy male trapdoor. Well, here we go, guys. This is a trapdoor spider. Now, I've actually never seen this trapdoor species before, and this is one that does not have a full common name. Now, the group of spiders that this is a part of is the wafer lid trapdoor spiders, but I like to call these guys the reddish brown or the red trapdoor spiders because you can see they've got a bit of a reddish tinge to them. Now, they don't look too impressive at first. In fact, they kind of look like a really bulky wolf spider, but in actual fact, they look very different up close. They have these very large chelicerae, which is something that you'll see in a lot of other really strange arthropods like horseshoe crabs and sea spiders. And in fact, it almost makes it look like they have 10 legs. The chelicerae are those two little front appendages right in front of their fangs that they use to pull in food. Now, they're a megalomorph, which is the same group of spiders that has tarantulas, trapdoor spiders, and even the infamous funnel web spider. It's actually a group of spiders that has some serious toxins in it, but as far as the American trapdoor spiders, we don't actually know a lot about them. So what actually are trapdoor spiders? Many people think that trapdoor spider just refers to a singular spider species or a family of spiders, but what it actually is a massive group of burrowing spiders throughout the world. What we often consider to be the true trapdoor spiders are a part of a group known as megalomorphs. It also includes tarantulas, purse web spiders, and probably the most infamous spider, the Australian funnel web. And you can certainly see the resemblance in all these spiders. They usually have really thick, heavy bodies, powerful downward pointing fangs, and they tend to be very fossorial. Out of the 30 different megalomorph families, only about 7 of them are typically referred to as trapdoors. But it's safe to say we have a lot more. There are tree trapdoor spiders. As their name suggests, they like to put their burrows in bark or in wood. Armored trapdoor spiders, they're also sometimes called spiny trapdoors. They're usually found in more tropical regions. Wafer lid trapdoors, like the one that we found here. These guys usually construct really thin, flexible burrow doors, and they're built a little bit lankier than the other trapdoors. Then there's cork lid trapdoor spiders. This is what many people consider the classic trapdoor spiders. They tend to be really dark in colorations. These are absolutely some of my favorite looking ones. And then there's folding door trapdoor spiders. They usually build doors that fold over the burrow rather than sealing it shut. What's interesting is these are considered to be more closely related to the atypical tarantulas or the purse web spiders, which are another really crazy looking spider species that you can absolutely just find in your yard at the base of a tree. There are certainly many others, but these are just a notable few of the incredible trapdoor spiders that can be found throughout the world. And it just goes to show you, there are a lot of them. They're actually a very hard to document species, and they pop up very sporadically. In fact, some of the main ways that people see these animals is either hidden in a corner of their garage, or sometimes like drowned in their pool or something. They're not a species that pops up in nature or in those little trapdoors a lot. And most of the time, you're gonna see an active, wandering male, which is what we have here. The males are a little bit lankier, and the females are this little bulky, almost tarantula-looking spider. Oh, and we see he's moving there a little bit. They're very sluggish when you compare them to something like a wolf spider. Ooh. And they freak me out a little bit, if I'm being perfectly honest. Now, this is most certainly not the most infamous trapdoor species, and there are trapdoors all over the world. But the American species are fairly underrated, mostly because we don't know too much about their venom. My favorite thing about trapdoors is just how aggressive they can be when confronted. When undisturbed, they really want nothing to do with people or any other animal for that matter. And they're never gonna go out of their way to bite or even be around you. But when cornered or confronted, they pose up those front fangs, they pose up those front legs, and they give an incredible display, very similar to a funnel web or an aggressive tarantula species. But the thing that really fascinates me about trapdoor spiders is how little we actually know about them. There are still many species to be formally described. And since we rarely see them, we actually know very little about these spiders' lifestyle. They're secretive, they're oftentimes difficult to find, but at the same time, they're an incredibly successful and widespread species that you can find virtually anywhere. I've just had really bad luck. Now, you should never go ahead and hold a spider that you can't identify. Even though we don't have any known, truly venomous, truly deadly species here in the US, the ones that we would usually think about would be the brown recluse or the black widow. But besides them, we don't have any truly dangerous spiders here in the US. But that doesn't mean that you should pick up or play with a species that you can't identify. I've identified this spider. I know what species he is. There's never been a medically significant bite from one of these guys. And I know what I'm doing. Almost know what I'm doing. He's certainly not gonna bite me, and these spiders certainly aren't out to get you. But that's probably one of the coolest spiders that we could have encountered out here. That is a red trapdoor spider. Look at that little guy. That is awesome. So the next time you see an odd-looking spider or a burrow with some weird silk around it, just know that you might have found a trapdoor spider. And if you thought the trapdoor spider was gnarly, make sure to check out this video where we cover some of the most venomous snakes in the US, very fossorial, very rare group, the coral snakes. That's all for today, and we will see you guys next time.